So our game was targeted to students with learning disabilities from ADHD, and it targeted students fourth grade and up. And part of our research, most of our research actually was from a website called ResearchGate. And what we found from our research is that students who struggle with ADHD, which is a neuropsychiatric disorder, struggle with learning because they often lag behind with attention and also make pattern recognition, which is very important for subjects like math. And yeah, so our game is focused on making like being more interactive to help them focus.
And from the research data that we got, our design cycle, we kind of started with certain design goals. So we wanted to make it inviting for kids. We wanted it to keep them engaged and not just sitting there bored, but we also didn't want to make it hard enough that it discourages them from continuing to play. And we first drew out our characters, and then map, and then items is the way we went. And we originally had a really curvy small path, but we went to a more rigid and wider path to make it easier for the characters to go along.
Okay, so after our designing, this is how we actually implemented our game. This is the home screen, as you can see, and we just press enter to start. And then after they hit enter, there's instructions. You can read it before you play the game. You hit enter again, and this is what the game looks like on the computer. Here's the path that we were talking about, and then there's the three tiers of weapons and items that you can choose from. Tier 1 is the worst one, and then going up to tier 3 is the better one. The game basically is the monsters, as you can see now, they're coming out. The blue one is when we have to answer math questions in order to destroy it, and the towers itself don't do any damage. And when they reach the end, and if enough monsters hit the castle, that's when you lose, or you win by completing all 20 waves.
And another thing is, after every wave, basically what happens is that we're gonna give the user 15 questions, and depending on how many questions they get right is how many coins they get. And things that we could do differently is we could make it so that if the user keeps getting the question wrong, we could just present them with a hint to get the question right, or we can present them an explanation of how to get the answer. And we can definitely make the code much cleaner to look more nice and neat and everything. And that is our presentation. So to show you more of what the game is actually like, basically you press enter here to start, and then you are given instructions, and then you can press enter again to start, and then you can click to drag the tower, and then you can click again to place the tower. And then some more advice that we've been given is that, for instance, this blue monster here does sometimes move a little bit too fast for people to understand. So what we would have added to is we could have maybe made it a little bit slower so that users would have been able to defeat the monster a bit easier. Also, some things that we could have added to that the audience have said is that we could have added different difficulty levels, adding an easy or medium or hard difficulty, so that it's more doable depending on what grade level you're in. And that is pretty much our project. Thank you for listening.